Hello, good morning, everyone. So, today I will be talking about the business research process, the problem identification and formulation, research development process, and the methods of calculation of research costs. Okay, so, in an organization, we have this marketing department, the human resource department, the sales, the accounting, and most of the big companies is now having R&D or the research and development department. Now, why? What's the purpose of having R&D in a company? Okay? So first, let us define what is business research. Okay? So, business research is the systematic and objective process of generating information for the aid in business and making decisions. Okay, so why is this important? Okay, so because nowadays, if I'm not mistaken, most of the product has its own rivals or competition. All right. So, in order for you to have an edge over the competition, you need to boost your research to help you get more information to aid in making sound business decisions on what strategy to apply or what strategy you are going to use. All right. Now, let us know the how. How do we do business research? Okay, so it is said that business research is a systematic, all right, so therefore it follows a step by step process. So I will be discussing the how, okay, how to do it. Okay, so here are the steps in the business research process. First, identifying and defining problem or opportunity. Okay, so you need to scan the environment first. What is the prevailing problem that needs an urgent solution? Or what are the opportunity that can help your business grow? Okay, so when you're done with identifying the problem, the second step would be planning the research design. Okay, are you going to use descriptive or correlational research design? So it depends on how or what type of research you are planning to take, and that would vary according to the type of business you are in. All right. So the third step is selecting a research method. So how do you acquire the detailed information? So are you going to use questionnaires, interviews, or surveys? Okay. So most of the researchers uses questionnaire whereby the collected data will then be analyzed to produce findings. Okay, so the fourth step is selecting a sampling procedure. Okay, so a sample is a subset of individuals from a larger population. So, for example, you are studying the occurrences of workplace bullying to a pharmacy staff. So, your target participants is the 100%. So you are going to select a portion of such large population. So for example, first you survey only 20 pharmacy staffs. So the 20% is your sample, okay, of that 100 target participants. And whatever the result, you refer it to a statistician for reliability testing. Next is the data collection. So, how did you collect the data? Is it through online or face to face? Okay, so in person interviews, mail surveys, or phone surveys. Okay, so data collection is defined as the procedure of collecting, measuring, and analyzing accurate insights for research. So in this step, you are going to facilitate your study to the entire target participants. All right. So the next, after the data collection, you evaluate the data. Okay, it is now the analysis of the study outcomes. So this is more on the results and discussions. So you are going to refer from statistical results, no, the mean, the median, or whatever statistical tools were used in the research, right? So next is the preparing for presenting the research report. So in this part, you have to carefully know if the problem or issue you want to solve is justifiably addressed. Okay? So your significant findings should be in line with your, of course, objectives in conducting your study. Now we go to the formulation or the problem identification and formulation. So as I have discussed a while ago, the problem should be clearly identified. So what is the root cause of a problem? And after that, you need to develop a problem statement from a general to specific. You need also to review related literature or the RRL. Is this issue has been researched before, or what are their key findings, or how can I add to the previous studies, or if you find gaps, how will you fill those gaps? All right. Now let's talk on the steps on how to do the problem identification. First, defining the statement of the problem in a general way. So I've been saying our problem statement should be deductive. Write it first on a general way or a general sense, going down into more specific details. Okay, so next is understanding the nature of the problem. This is very important. If you understand the nature of the research problem, you will be able to develop a solution to a problem. Okay, so let's be more specific here. Okay, so now let's go to surveying the available literature. Okay, so I was mentioning RRL a while ago. So do search in the web or in the library. So in this step, this is essential. Why? Because what if the solution you want to know has already been answered by previous researchers? Okay? So it is also important so you will know how will you contribute to the existing body of knowledge and fill those gaps you've found. Okay? So the next is developing the ideas through discussions. Okay? You need some experts to lead you along with your studies. Okay? Discussing ideas may help you better conduct your research. Okay? So the last is rephrasing the research problem into a working proposition. So finally, the researcher must sit to rephrase the research problem into working proposition. So the researcher must put the research problem in as specific terms as possible to develop clear key findings. Okay, we go to the research problem development process. So, this research problem should be formulated in a sequential manner to reduce the ambiguities to a minimum. Okay, so our research problem should not be in a long paragraph form. Okay, it should be in a sequential to reduce ambiguities. Okay, so when we say ambiguities, it is when it is open to more than one interpretation. So it has to be clear. Okay, so distinguish the subject area of interest. So your research should be in your area of interest. So you must be passionate about it. It's not easy to make research, I tell you. Okay? So if you are going into business research, you conduct research that best address your areas of concern. Okay? Now we go to dissect the subject area into sub areas. Okay, from a general problem to a more specific problem. Okay, so if you want to know the impact of online selling to consumers, you need to dissect sub areas like looking at for demographic profiling, and so on and so forth. Okay, so next would be generate research questions. So in here, most of the researchers are using descriptive because the researcher may somehow describe what is going on. Okay, so in business, leading questions are used to persuade clients, your customers, to make a particular decisions, and your questions in here should be leading to answering your research problem. Okay, and then decide about the objectives. So these are now your goal, and you set in your study that you want to answer or achieve. Okay, so the methods of calculation of research, okay, this would vary according to the scope of the study. The larger the scope, of course, the more costly the research will become. Okay, so it is also important to monitor the cost of research. Okay, so R&D, or the research and development team, are assigned to do business research. Of course, they are funded, or they also have this budget allocated by the management. So to monitor your cost, you have to first list your activities. So are you going out of town to see how the market flows on the certain place? Are you going to buy database system to help you interpret the results? Are you going to visit some establishments and make some interviews there, or list those activities down to track the expenses related to your research? Next is check the rules. Each company has the prescribed rules when it comes to funding R&D, or the research and development, and then cost each item. Of course, for the computation or the documentation, the total cost of the research should be calculated accurately. Okay, so put it in a spreadsheet so accountants know this very well. Okay, so every expenses has its own account name or account title. Now we go to the research budget categories. Okay, so there are two, the direct and the indirect cost. So when we say direct cost, these are the costs integral, okay, to achieving the research objective. So for example, the personnel involved in the study, the allowances and salaries, and then the travel cost when there is a need to travel to get some details out there. Okay, so these are integral, or these costs are necessary to complete the research. Okay, the next is the indirect cost. So these are the costs that benefit, no, benefit and support research activities. Okay, so such as example, meeting venues, computer access. So also, these are the expenditures incurred not directly attributed to research, but the research can't be done without this. Okay, all right, so thank you very much for listening, and I hope you learned something from this presentation. Okay, thank you.